Continuing on, if you haven't seen the last episodes, go back and watch them. We rescued what was left of a 356 out of a workshop. We dragged it home and realised how much we didn't have. Then we went and salvaged this car. Turns out it was a Porsche courtesy car, never been owned, and we cut the body off it. The original plan was to cut this thing down, get it driving, which we've already done. You would have seen that in the previous video. Make the changes that were necessary, and then the one behind me on the chassis bench, jig that up, get it square, get it fitted, basically like a big shell, like an RC car. Grab that one, have this one, and just grab that and stick that on top. However, change of plans. We're going to flat pack that car, pack it away on the shelf for a little bit, throw this one on the bench, jig it, find a center line, mark out our cut. We're going to bring it back together. This car behind us won't be a body show anymore. It'll be a whole bunch of pieces. So I think we'll probably start with the A-pillar windscreen frame, drop that over the front end, perhaps hang the roof or hang the doors. We might hang the doors first, line up the roof, and just start piecing it together like a big jigsaw and bring it back onto this. For now, we've got to get this on the bench, get that stripped, and see how we go. Anyway, we've been reading the comments. A lot of people say don't read the comments, but I got stuck into the comments, and you guys have so many questions. So I think we're going to respond to some of those questions and talk about why we chose this car with that car. So it might run through them. We've got a whiteboard. We can talk about wheelbase and what some plans are for that. But something really cool is we're in Australia, and in Australia, modified cars aren't really looked at very well by the authorities. They pick on us a fair bit. I think in other countries you can modify some stuff and just put some plates on it and go drive it. In Australia, we don't have that luxury. And something that's really cool is we actually have the ability to engineer a car. So we can modify a car, and along with an engineer who's in a position of authority to certify it, to approve all the modifications, we can legally register a modified car. When we get pulled over, we can show them his paperwork, and hopefully if they get a good cop, they go, oh, well, you know, on your way, all your modifications are legal. However, to do that, there's a bunch of guidelines that you have to follow. And, you know, I'm not one of these engineers, but I know the dumbed down, you know, consulting with the engineer, the dumbed down version of this is. So something like this, and this one particularly, a 356, they were always a 4-cylinder. And, you know, through the mid-60s, Porsche went 6-cylinder. They ran 6 cylinders for whatever, 50 years now. And it wasn't until this model car that they come back out with a 4-cylinder. So to put a 4-cylinder, modern 4-cylinder into an old 4-cylinder car, the engineer looks at it a lot easier. It's a lot easier to put the same amount of cylinders from one motor into, you know, modern engine into an older car. Then you've got capacity. This is a 2.5 litre. That was, I think, like a 1500 or something, about 75 horsepower. So the engineer wouldn't allow us to go past 2.5 litre for legal registration, especially on a turbo. Maybe if we go naturally aspirated, could have gone 3.5 litre, would have had to jump to a 6-cylinder, so it gets us out of the 4-cylinder range. So with this now, we can do 4-cylinder, maximum capacity, 2.5 litre, turbo. But we're going from 75 horsepower to 350. So huge horsepower gain. Cars were somewhere, they were really light, these 718s, they were around 1,300 kilos. The 356 is 934, 940 kilos. So super light cars, and we've got an engine with 7 times the horsepower. So I think, you know, power to weight, we might go all right there. But yeah, for legal requirements, for engineering, to be a full registered engineered vehicle within our country, we had to work within number of cylinders and capacity. So that's why we chose this car here. There's been a lot of opinions on wheelbase. Oh, I just stretch the 356. You know, I wouldn't cut the 718. I wouldn't cut that. I'll do this, I'll do that, whatever. That's good, you go do that. The decision's why we're doing it our way. You know, we thought about this for a while, and besides the engineering factor and all sorts of stuff, I'll tell you what. 356, we need the exterior of the 356 to look like a 356. Part of our engineering requirements is the vehicle will be engineered as a modified production vehicle, so a modified 356. Now, to maintain that requirement, the exterior silhouette or the exterior appearance of the car must remain as a 356. If we were to go stretch the wheelbase 375 millimeters, which is huge, like what's this, like 16, 18 inches, it is ridiculous. It's going to vastly change the proportions. It's actually going to make an ugly car. And there's a bunch of modified longer wheelbase 356s around on the internet. You can go look at them and make your own opinion. But for us, the goal is really to maintain the appearance on the outside of a 356 and not screw with the aesthetic too much. So let's run through some wheelbase. Let's do some, you know, it might be a bit boring, but let's do some quick math on the wheelbase, and we think we know where we're headed with this. So 356 wheelbase, 356 is 2100 millimeters. You know, what we might do, I'm not going to convert this to inches, we'll just put the inches on the screen. 718's 2475 wheelbase, right? Obviously that gives us a difference of 375 millimeters. Again, we'll put inches on the screen. Now that is a significant wheelbase change. That's a lot. If we just pull out a bit of a measuring stick, we can see here, all metric, 375. That's a lot. So we can come up with some options. We're going to lose a lot of space in that occupant area, cabin space, if we do that. So I've been researching Porsches a little bit. Now, the early 911s, so 911 from when they've come out, 64 onwards, they went to a wheelbase of 2211. So 111 greater than the 356. So what's that? That's like 4 inches and 3/8, somewhere there. It's not too bad. So what I'm thinking is, if we aim for this wheelbase in the 356, we might be able to change the front, push the front wheels forward somewhere around 30 mil, maybe 35-ish. Let's just put a 5 in there. And the rear, whatever the difference is, call that around 80 mil, somewhere there. And we'll see, I'll do some images on the screen with the wheelbase. We'll go stock 356 wheelbase, a 356 with the 718 wheelbase with the 375 mil increase, which you can see that by that image there, it just looks disgusting. But if we sneak in the 111 millimeter change and go to the 2211 wheelbase and hide it, I really truly believe we can get away with it. And we're going to gain that 4 inches, 4 3/8 inches within the cabin space, and get us a good wheelbase that is known performance. Because in the history of this 911 here, with this wheelbase, the only reason they did that is for handling. They said that vastly changed the handling characteristics of the Porsche in that era. So our weight balance is really awesome. Our weight balance is forward of the axle centerline. This is really cool because this is actually, you know, the 4-cylinder, and as far as I know, this is the first time Porsche has made a flat 4 again, 4-cylinder, since that car. So since the mid-60s, when they were doing these 356s, they went 6-cylinder, you know, for 50 years. Hung them out the back, made them a little tail heavy. You know, the weight balance is not ideal. Really, the goal for a good weight balance is somewhere around 45% on the front, 55% on the rear. And these early Porsches with the 6 cylinders hung over the rear, they were like 70%, 76%, something biased to the rear. So this is really cool that we can get a good weight balance further forward and go back to the 4-cylinder that the 356 was. I grabbed the roof, go around the other side there. Just rip that tape off. Wanted to be a convertible. Someone's had a shot at making it a convertible, that's for sure.
Targa top.
Yeah, just junk. The rear quarters will come off. This is a mess. This is like half screws, half tack welds. So this is just old junk.
Screws out of that?
Yeah, just pull the quarters off that side.
Yep.
The Phillips head, is it?
Yep.
Yep. Up and away. What am I missing? Oh. That's welded, is it?
Yep.
Yep. Alright. I reckon I'm going to cut this in half, cut this through here.
Yep.
Let's get rid of this junk. I think we cut the front end off.
Is it just tug on bus through?
I'll take that off, that off. That's been cut to here. That and that. This is just disgusting, all this stuff. Tempted just to cut this right off and cut all that gone. I think our strut tops, well, our strut tops will come up into here somewhere. So I need to get rid of these at least. And go to town, cut all this shit out of here. This is where the 3D scan, this is where the 3D scan would be really good, especially in this type of area, to know where the strut top's coming to. But because this has all just been made, I think it's just lose all this completely. And before we cut it, before we cut this out, I think we just grab a couple measurements here and here. Not going to be right, but at least reference it before we cut it. I'm thinking this all comes off, we just cut this straight through and have a front end that we sit over, we sit on top of that car and just deal with the back later. I reckon by the time we get to cut this off, we're going to lose all this. By the time we get this sitting on the other car, don't think we're going to use any of this. Probably use this. I would be highly surprised if we end up using any of that. I think none of that's going to exist. We've got some new ones of these upstairs. Might use the top section and graft them in. You know, this will be cut down here somewhere. Cross that bridge when we get to it. Gonna make the call. Do we cut it in half? Are we ready to do that? I think we do. This gets cut to that, drops in, that drops through, that comes through to there. Yep, bucket. I reckon we just cut that off, and have a front and a rear. We're done with it.
Yep.
We'll lose the front fender. I'll do the same on that side, but I gotta do it with the grinder. So it's a snip, 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 snip through here. This is an absolute disaster in there. It's been butchered. All right, so I'm gonna grab a grinder and cut the lot off.
Should just slide off the back. This lip.
It's probably
It's
all,
a
hang
lip.
on, whoa.
There's
It's
a
probably
lip
all
on the
this shit
back.
here.
Yeah.
Alright, let's
But-
butcher it.
It should slide off.
Nah, it's hammered on. It's welded on that edge.
Dodgy buggers.
Going to town. Well, I got new ones of these.
The inners.
All that's going to go. So it's just, here we go.
Choppy.
We go from underneath. Better angle. Better angle of the angle. Hang on, hold it.
God, they really butchered that, didn't they?
What's the point of this? For the sake of that is just not even worth being there. Just junk.
To cut all the way through the top.
I reckon it's such a disaster. You can just come up high and just get rid of all that junk. Yep, let's lose it. It's either now or later. Just lose it now. This will be good with all this gone and just having the hood opening, because we can be laid over and it'll tell us exactly where our struts are. You can do all the work in here, cut, modify, fabricate, whatever, but still just know exactly where we are in relation to our hood. Yep. It'll work well.
Porsche metal.
Well, this is all going to end up being radiators through here. I'll keep this for now. I'm tipping this will be gone later. Rid of that. Oh, lightweight. It's a super lightweight model.
Damo.
Is there any value right now? Is there any value in keeping it together?
Not much of it left.
All we need to do in the future is get this rear section lined up with our roof and quarters and doors and later.
Yep.
We know we need to put a roof on it, so we have to do the windscreen frame anyway. We're lining our quarters to the doors. If we halve this now, so if we halve this right now, we know we're putting new seals through. We're not using the inner's in the 718. We've made the decision to fold new outers. So both of these will be made brand new. That one's all rotted anyway. I've got the book, I've got the measurements between the hinge posts. So if we get any spread on this, we can pull it back in. Let's do it.
Cut tacks off the bars, or just cut the bars separate.
Yeah. I added these in when I transported it.
Yep.
Let's, maybe we just jam some blocks or something under the rear. So if we cut it, it's not going to fall over on us. I think we only need, to begin with, this is the first job, fitting this section over that car. Will be first up.
Hacksaw?
Yeah, maybe.
In the cupboard binder.
Give it a bit of a tug. Yeah, foot chewy. Air saw?
Yep. Cupboard right behind you.
Air saw! That drops and jams the blade in about 2.5 seconds. Right there.
Holding
What we're going to do is chuck this on the floor over there.
Holding on by a thread.
Oh, sharp.
Just a little.
Just put it here. No ass crack to the camera.
No ass crack to
We'll know about it.
Run it through the seals.
I think I'd like to keep this because we might paper pattern that and remake that as that grafts into the 718 floor.
Yep.
So there's a seam here. I think we just lose it in front of that seam. We just come up that seam and across and try and keep this piece as best we can. Just whatever, bin that. And then got a recut. All right. You concur?
I concur.
Quite like the heaviest piece of the whole car.
It is actually.
Watch your back. Oh, let's check it here. Let's check it here. Yeah. Just finished cutting up this 356, diced it up. You know, these front fenders, rear quarters, bonnet screen, roof. A lot of this is pretty good, this stuff here. We'll use a lot of this, I think. However, the front end, you can see this front nose, it's just absolute junk. So we'll have to get a new nose on order for this. It's not worth the time trying to use any of that. Someone's fabricated this front end that can get binned. We have the rear clip. Not sure how much this will end up using. Probably the majority of the 718 over there will replace the majority of this. We'll use this area here under the rear screen, this tail and all that trunk opening. However, all this internal structure, I've got a feeling none of that's going to get used yet. Rockers are gone, but this is what we want. This is where we're going to start. So we're going to get this lined up, get this fitting over the car. These hinge points here on our drawing, we're going to base that from that. So these hinges, we'll pretty much use these as a datum to reference everything forward and everything back from there. So you can see why this body, this 356 body, was the perfect candidate to do the swap. Because down here, there's just nothing left. Normally there'd be a chassis rail through here. The torsion tubes would be around here somewhere, and we all gusted it in to take the suspension. This one just has nothing. This panel, this section here, we've got new ones of these. These will support the front fender, the front wing, whatever we want to call that. However, importantly, what we mentioned earlier, these A-pillars, those hinge mounts, that's what we want, because that's our starting point. That's what we're going to use to reference every measurement out to line this thing up. So now we need to get this, probably get this 718 onto the bench, get this lined up, get it square, mount it in, make the cut, and set our new wheelbase.
Oh, width.
So as the saying goes, can't make a cake without breaking some eggs. So I think this egg is well and truly broken. Grab the steel. So the longer beams, I reckon we put under the body mounts.
How much overhang here?
Down. Or is it side to side and not too worried?
Now we'll work that out now.
I want to square it up.
Yeah.
We've got the 718 sitting up on the bench, just sitting up there pretty loose at the moment, roughly center. We'll have to get the center line of this bench, front to back, find some reference points on the car, find a center, make sure it's true, and probably make a secondary support in here to mount up to the body. These ones are sitting on the body mounts. It's all clear underneath there. And the rear's sitting up on the body mount as well. And then we'll need to build an extra support back in here to hold the rear. Then we can finally get to the point where the center's clear through there, put our measurement in, unpick a lot of the spot welds and shorten it up.